So in this video, I want to talk about post-hypnotic amnesia. Now, this idea had another idea for a video I was about to do. And then on looking up, though, in the previous video, if you saw that video, looking up the post-hypnotic suggestions, I was reminded of another more traditional way to do hypnosis or attribute to hypnosis, which is to create post-hypnotic amnesia. Now, you guys will probably be pretty familiar with this. So I want to throw some ideas out there on how you can do it, what it's all about. Remember, post-hypnotic amnesia is really used to help a client forget about the session or the suggestions during that session. So if you're working with a smoking client, you might have given them a lot of suggestions about how being a non-smoker is better, how they'll be more healthier, blah, 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 whatever it is. Then you use post-hypnotic suggestions, some sort of confusing language, a confusion story, whatever it is. And it's basically said to you're scrambling that part of the client's mind so they don't remember what you talked about or what suggestions you gave, so they can't reverse those suggestions, okay? Now, the idea is just an idea, but this is more the traditional hypnosis, has nothing to do with therapy. What sort of makes me laugh is a lot of trainers will really promote this post-hypnotic amnesia. You've got to confuse your clients that they don't remember, but then they say, give them an audio to reinforce the suggestions. Sort of becomes a non sequitur. You're sort of defeating the purpose of that. So like I said, it's used to help a client forget about the suggestions used during a session. So remember this, guys. When the hypnotic payoff is resolved, a client can remember all they like, as it will have no impact on the unconscious mind. Why? We've tested this so many times, guys. I've never, ever used this in any sort of session. We don't teach it to our students, and they get by quite fine. When the unconscious payoff, this is also known as the root cause, is resolved, when it's real deep unconscious change, guys, the client can remember all they like. It's going to have no impact. The conscious mind has no impact unconsciously. Once the unconscious mind makes its mind up, it's extremely stubborn. The mind will keep processing regardless of what a client can remember. The only time, I will say this with a caveat, the only time a client remembering what you've said, the suggestions, or breaking those suggestions or reversing those suggestions, whatever you want to call it, will harm the session is when the unconscious payoff has not been changed, because all you've done is fix the symptom. When a client comes in and says, I want to quit smoking, you can't get at your stop smoking script or your stop smoking technique. Why? Because now you're fixing the symptom. So maybe using a bit of post-hypnotic amnesia might have its place, but really, if you're not fixing the problem, it doesn't matter what you throw at it, whether they remember or not, all you've done is just fix their conclusion. So when you get deep unconscious change, guys, and I'm talking about at a therapeutic level, not at a hypnosis level. If you follow my stuff for long enough, you know we care nothing about hypnosis. It's all about the therapy. Hypnosis is secondary. So when you're changing a client therapeutically, the unconscious mind locks that off. It creates that new change. It doesn't matter what your client remembers. It's going to have no unconscious change. Why? Because once the unconscious mind locks it off, it's like locking off the initial problem in the first place. Why clients can't remember what it is, because the unconscious mind sort of hides it away. The same thing happens here, guys. But if you fix the symptom, you could have the best hypnotic amnesia, the best post-hypnotic suggestions. Still not going to work because all you've done is fix the symptom. Okay. Number 3, you're really using suggestions, and I'm not a fan. I say no to all suggestions. You'll never hear myself or even my students ever using a suggestion. Doesn't matter what the problem is. Why? Because they're not necessary. I speak to a lot of therapists, as you can imagine, who've told me, Scott, I've done like a 3 or a 5 day clinical hypnosis training, and all I did was sit around and learn suggestions. Well, all you're telling me is all you've done is sit around and learn the hypnosis part. If you've got a stop smoking client and you put them into trance, you don't then tell them, hey, you're a non-smoker. Every time you breathe fresh air, you're this, this, and this. Why? Because you're fixing the symptom. Okay. Using suggestions at any time during a session is just giving your opinion, conclusion, and symptom-based suggestion. It's terrible when you even people will download a script online, a stop smoking script that's written by another therapist who should know it's just a symptom, but obviously they're just trying to sell you something, that is written for a client they have no idea about. Okay. So it's really defining, guys, what is hypnosis compared to what is therapy. I'm going to make a video, going to be quite a long one in the future, to show the difference between the two, because most trainers, most trainings, and most hypnotists or hypnotherapists, we can call yourself a therapist, whatever you want to call yourself, is a lot of their work is 95% is just learning how to hypnotize somebody. And 5% of that time is just doing the actual therapy. What we like to do is flip it. Okay. So using suggestions anytime, guys, they're just your conclusion. They're your guessing. And realistically, nobody likes being told what to do, guys, and neither do your clients. Number 4, what I always recommend, instead of worrying about language patterns, learning the best suggestions, watching these videos that says post-hypnotic amnesia, or like how to craft the best hypnotic suggestion, how to know when to say it. Instead of worrying about those things which are purely hypnosis based, concentrate on the therapy portion. Now you might be saying, well, Scott, I use suggestions during the therapy phase. Well, if you're using suggestions during the therapy phase, you are not doing therapy. That is not the therapy phase. You're now telling the client what to do. Therapy and suggestions have nothing to do with each other, guys. Okay. Concentrate more on the therapeutic portion. You might need to learn how to do that. Okay. Go to a course that teaches how to do that. Concentrate more on the therapy portion of your intervention, thus making amnesia, suggestions, suggestibility tests, brain waves, all that stuff, make all of that obsolete. Because at the end of the day, guys, as we finish this video, the only thing a client pays for is the therapeutic part. You do not have to hypnotize a client to do therapy. In fact, it's better off if you do the therapy, because the hypnosis and the trance that comes as a byproduct of the therapy and pure unconscious change is, let's say, 1,000,000 times more powerful and beneficial than some made up or forced hypnotic trance where you tell a client to relax. Okay. So that's my thoughts on post-hypnotic amnesia. The previous video is post-hypnotic suggestions, all of that stuff, guys. Forget about it. If you're sitting there drilling language patterns to try and sound like a hypnotist, you are wasting your time, guys. Learn how to do the proper therapy. Thus, you can grow your business, actually get change with a client, and you never have to sound like a moronic hypnotist who is so obvious when they're trying to force language patterns onto their clients, or even post-hypnotic amnesia or any sort of suggestions. Okay, guys, hopefully that answered that question. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.